Whether we are talking about the smallest bacterium or the largest mammal, every living organism it is composed of cells. A single cell, remember it is a smallest cell is the smallest unit that exhibit all the characteristic of life. So it is the basic building block from which all living structures are made, and it is defined as structural and functional unit of the living body. So what a cell is? A self-replicating structure capable of performing all necessary functions for survival, growth and reproduction is the cell. Cells from the tissue. Cell forms the tissue. Tissue they forms the organ, and organ forms system working together to create a living body. So what are the key structures, key features of cell? Let us discuss them. First of all, uh, what are the characteristics of cells in our body? Every cell has some common functions. First of all, every cell they require nutrition and oxygen. So every cell requires nutrients and oxygen to sustain itself. The food we eat is broken down into simpler substances that cell can use, and oxygen from the air we breathe it is essential for process of cellular respiration. Second, energy production. Cell produce their own energy that is important for their growth, repair and functioning. How the energy comes? It comes from the breakdown of nutrients like the glucose during cellular respiration, a process that occurs in the mitochondria of the cell. The energy is produced in the form of ATP that act as a energy currency of the cell. Now, just like any living system, cells produce waste that is carbon dioxide, a byproduct of cellular respiration, and other metabolic waste need to be expelled from the cell to maintain its internal environment. Cell maintain an internal environment suitable for their survival. So they require entry and exit of various substances, maintaining a stable internal condition that is known as homeostasis. The cell membrane is selective permeable. That means that it allows certain material to pass. It allows certain substances to pass while blocking others. Cell has a defense mechanism to protect the body from various foreign invaders like the bacteria or toxic substances. Some cells, such as the white blood cells, they are specified to respond quickly to such threats, identifying and neutralizing them to prevent harm. Cell they reproduce by division that is essential for the growth and development and repair. So these are the exceptions such as neurons in nervous tissue which do not replicate, which do not reproduce after they are fully formed. The cell it is a fundamental unit of life. The cell is not just a structural unit but also a fundamental unit. It is the smallest component that can replicate itself independently. That is what makes life possible. Now, the first cells were observed by Robert Hooke in year 1665 when he looked at the thin slices of cork under a microscope. He saw tiny hollow structures that were named cells because they resemble. He reminded him of small rooms in monastery. Since then, the study of cells or cytology has evolved immensely. So cell they comes in various size and shape. They can range from 2 to 120 micrometer in structure. Some organisms they are unicellular while like bacteria and amoeba, while a single cell perform all the function necessary for life. Others like humans they are multicellular. That means that they consist of trillions of cells that work together to sustain life. Now the substance that collectively make up cell they are known as protoplasm. Protoplasm is the living content of the cell and it is site where all the physical and biochemical process occurs. So protoplasm is the living substance of cell. So it is complex jelly-like material that include all the components within the cell membrane, including the cytoplasm and nucleus. So the protoplasm it is the medium in which the cellular organelles are suspended and biochemical activities take place. The protoplasm it is made up of several essential components, each playing a vital role in maintaining cellular structure and function. So it has, remember, it has water, that is the major component that is consists of 70 to 80% of the protoplasm. So it acts as a solvent, water acts as a solvent and medium for various biochemical reaction. Water facilitate the transport of substance within the cell, help in maintaining the shape and structural, and plays an important role in temperature regulation. Second is the carbohydrate. They are the energy providers for the cell. They are primarily found in the form of glucose and glycogen. So they play a role in cellular respiration, providing energy in the form of ATP. Additionally, they constitute to formation of structural components like cell wall in the plants. Lipid, they include the fat, oil, phospholipid. They are essential for maintaining cell membrane formation. They provide structural integrity to the cell membrane and make it cell membrane permeable, selective permeable. So lipids, they also serve as energy reserves and are involved in processing and hormone production. Proteins, they are the most diverse form, serving as enzyme, hormone, structural component and significant molecules. So they are composed of amino acid that are important for growth, repair and regulation of cellular processes. Apart from that, electrolytes may be present. They are required for maintaining ionic balance and involved in various physiological processes. Like ions like sodium, they play a role in nerve impulse transmission and muscle contraction. Potassium, it helps in maintaining the cell potential and proper muscle function. Magnesium, it acts as a cofactor for various enzymes. Calcium, they play a role in muscle contraction, neurotransmitter release and blood clotting. Phosphate, Remember, they play a role in energy transfer and storage as ATP chloride. It helps to maintain the osmotic balance and electrical neutrality. Bicarbonates, they are important for maintaining pH balance in the cell and body fluids. So protoplasm, referred as the living part of cell, consists of water, carbohydrates, lipid, proteins, and the electrolyte. So each of these components plays a vital role in ensuring that the cell function optimally. They work together to sustain life, facilitate growth, and respond to the changing needs of the cell and the organism. Now the major structure that we focus on the cell, they are the major structure are the cell membrane, cytoplasm, and its nucleus. The cell membrane is also known as plasma membrane, or it is also known as plasma lemma. So it is a protective sheath that envelops, that surrounds the cell body, and it serves as boundary between the cell internal environment and the external world. The primary function of cell membrane is to protect the cell content and provide structural integrity. So cell membrane it serves as a boundary between the cell internal environment and the external world. The primary function of cell membrane is to protect the cell content and provide structural integrity. Now it separates the fluid outside the cell, called the outside fluid is known as extracellular fluid, from the fluid that is present inside, that is known as intracellular fluid. The cell membrane, it's a semi-permeable. That means that it allows free exchange of certain substances between the extracellular fluid and the intracellular fluid. So this selective permeability is important for maintaining the cell internal environment and enabling communication with the surroundings. The thickness, it measures from 75 Armstrongs to 115 Armstrongs. So the thin flexible structure, it is composed of phospholipid bilayer suspended with proteins, cholesterol, carbohydrates that contributes to its function and fluidity. Now the cell membrane, it consists of two layers of phospholipid. Each phospholipid has hydrophilic so this one is the hydrophilic head, and this one is the hydrophobic tail. So these align together to form lipid bilayer. So the hydrophilic head, it faces towards the external cellular fluid, and the hydrophilic tail, they face toward inwards, creating hydrophobic core. The cell membrane contains various proteins that serve different roles, like there are integral proteins. The integral protein, these spans the entire membrane and are involved in transport, acting as channel or carriers for molecules. The other are the peripheral proteins. The peripheral proteins, these are attached to the surface of membrane and play a role in cell signaling, structural support, and enzymatic activity. Apart from that, there is cholesterol within the phospholipid bilayer. Cholesterol molecules, they provide stability and fluidity to the cell membrane, making it less permeable to very small soluble molecule that might otherwise freely pass out. Apart from that, there are carbohydrates often attached to the protein, glycoprotein, or glycolipid on the outer surface of cell membrane. So these molecules are involved in cell recognition and communication. So these are the function of cell membrane. It is protective in nature, it is digestive in nature, it is selective permeability, it shows selective permeability. So these substance polar molecules like water, glucose, urea, they have much lower solubility and therefore they penetrate the membrane much more slowly. Now coming to the cytoplasm and its organelles, the cytoplasm is the jelly-like fluid that fills the cell and surrounds the nucleus. It includes cytosol, the liquid component, organelles, and cytoskeleton element. The cytoplasm is where most of the cell's metabolic process occur. Organelles are specialized structure within the cytoplasm, each performing various functions like mitochondria. Mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell. Mitochondria, it generates ATP through cellular respiration. We have endoplasmic reticulum. So these are the component of mitochondria: outer membrane, inner membrane, and space is present, that is called intermediate space. There are various infoldings and the cristae and matrix. So the membranes, they are formed of phospholipids and proteins. The endoplasmic reticulum, that divides into rough endoplasmic reticulum with ribosomes for protein synthesis and smooth endoplasmic reticulum for lipid synthesis and detoxification. Apart from that, we have Golgi bodies. The Golgi apparatus sorts and packs proteins and lipids for secretion. For internal use, lysozymes, it contains enzymes to digest the cellular waste and foreign materials. We have ribosomes, that are the site for protein synthesis. They can be either freely floating in cytosol or attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Apart from that, we have cytoskeleton, that is made up of microfilaments, intermediate filaments, microtubules that provide structural support and facilitate movement and transport within the cell. Apart from that, the third is the nucleus. The nucleus is the control center of the cell, housing the cell genetic material. So it is surrounded by a nuclear membrane that separates it from cytoplasm. So inside the nucleus, DNA is organized into chromosomes, which contains the instruction for cell growth, reproduction, and function. The nucleolus, it is a dense region within the nucleus that is responsible for ribosome production.